With 13 days left to go in voting, this election is a referendum on many things. First and foremost, on a day when another 994 Americans have died of COVID. Think about that. 1,000 people today. It's the most in 3 weeks. It's a referendum, this election, on the president's utter disregard for our health and safety. A colossal governing failure, a once-in-a-century failure, a historic failure. It is also a referendum on Trump's record more broadly, the 8 million people that are now in poverty, for instance. But it's also a referendum on corruption. It's a referendum on corruption, partly because Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and the rest of Trump's cronies think it's a good idea to make the election a referendum on corruption. That is partly because, as I was just saying, in 2016, with the help of former FBI Director James Comey and a Russian intelligence operation, spurious corruption allegations against his opponent helped Donald Trump eke out a victory. And they are very clearly hoping to rerun the same play, but this time Donald Trump is the president with a record, and the record shows, and I don't think this is an overstatement or even really a partisan statement, that Donald Trump is the most flagrantly corrupt president in recent memory, possibly ever. I could spend the next 13 hours of shows we have between now and Election Day reciting this chapter and verse. I mean, just the circle of indicted people around the president who've been indicted or convicted in corrupt schemes is wider than anyone since Nixon. His second campaign manager, Paul Manafort, was convicted on corruption charges. His deputy campaign manager, Rick Gates, pleaded guilty to corruption charges. His longtime advisor, Roger Stone, was convicted of witness tampering and lying under oath. Trump then corruptly pardoned him so he could come help him try to win again. Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations that probably helped Trump win and will be joining me in just a few minutes. Trump's third campaign manager and former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon was picked up on a Chinese billionaire's yacht by the post office police for a alleged corrupt scheme to steal money from donors who believed they were building a wall on the Mexican border that Mexico was supposed to pay for. Best estimates by the Washington Post is that at least, this is just what we know, $1.2 million of public funds have gone into the president's own coffers through everything like from Secret Service renting rooms to golf courts to making Air Force pilots refuel and stay a night at Trump properties. Trump, you remember, also tried to put the world's big G7 conference at his own resort. He tried to award himself a government contract. And there's the foreign trademarks that are granted to his children while he's president, and the campaign money being used for God knows what, including $100,000 on his son's books for no apparent reason, and the bank account we just found out about yesterday in China, where he paid over $188,000 in taxes, which is about $188,000 more than he paid in the U.S., and he withdrew $15 million from while he was president. That's not to mention the recent guilty plea by the former RNC finance chair, a prominent Republican donor, a guy by the name of Elliot Broidy, just this week. I don't know if you've heard about this. You may recall the fact that Broidy, that guy you see there, top RNC guy, fundraiser, Broidy, you might remember, had his own adult film star mistress who he got pregnant, who Michael Cohen took care of with money and an NDA. That's different than the other women that the president slept with, who Michael Cohen paid hush money to. Well, Elliot Broidy, that guy, you may remember from that story, big Republican fundraiser, just pleaded guilty to a corrupt scheme to, get this, take foreign dollars to try to secretly influence the president on behalf of those corrupt foreign interests. And that story of him doing that wasn't even a 36-hour story. I mean, it barely made it to noon. We didn't even put it in the show. Then yesterday, CNN reported the administration is basically trying to give away an enormously, preposterously valuable chunk of spectrum the Defense Department owns to a Republican-wired firm that Karl Rove lobbies for, and that one senior administration official called the biggest handoff of economic power to a single entity in history. That and the Elliot Broidy, those were the last 24 hours of the Trump corruption beat. Of course, that brings us to Rudy Giuliani. The Rudy Giuliani who originally helped get the president impeached by working with him to corruptly use official U.S. power to gin up investigations of Joe Biden's son, and who is still at it, still cavorting with and passing along disinformation from people the U.S. government views as explicitly Russian agents, who's been behind the scenes pushing the agenda of foreign governments that he appears to be taking money from, whose colleagues Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman have been charged with fraud and campaign finance violations. Remember those gentlemen? Rudy Giuliani is now the point man on the president's charges about his opponent's corruption, the same Giuliani who was so quick on his feet, so savvy, so able to navigate the high-stakes waters of international intrigue and people with agendas that he ends up in the latest Sacha Baron Cohen Borat film on his back in a hotel room. NBC News obtained a copy of the movie that shows Giuliani and an actress playing a reporter going into a hotel bedroom for drinks. She's purporting to interview him. Giuliani called the video a complete fabrication and says a suspicious-looking screen grab from the scene was simply him tucking in his shirt after taking off his microphone from the interview. And we've seen footage, and that is what it looks like, just on his back, tucking in his shirt. It does look like he's doing that. Again, this is the guy you see on the TV making the corruption allegations. This is the trusted lawyer advisor for the president. This guy wheeling and dealing in all kinds of foreign matters. This is the guy who the president sends on international missions, who's operating at the highest levels of government, but continues to be a symbol of the unbelievable depravity and dupability and corruption of the Trump administration. One person just symbolizing it all. And if you right now listening to this, if you are hearing my voice and seeing my face and thinking about who your vote for, and you're the rare single issue corruption voter in this country, never has a choice between two candidates been more clear.